Kyron!
It is actually really cool that I get to be here today. I travel all over the United States and I speak to law enforcement everywhere I go. And I train them about missing children cases and specifically Kyron's case. But I provide my perspective on what that is and how it feels. And I provide that human impact to them because as we all know, law enforcement, they don't always think with their human heart. They think with their mechanical, I have to cope with this, I have to disconnect, I have to investigate, and I have to be objective, right? So that's what I do in my second job. And so for those of you who do not know who I am Desiree Young and I am Kyron Horman's mom. He went missing from Skyline Elementary School, and Skyline is just to the north of us and west. So if that provides any visual for you, that's why it's so special that I could be here today, because it's local. It has impacted the community here, and it's super important to share his story because we are all invested in bringing Kyron home. The sounds of helicopters and searchers yelling Kyron's name has haunted me for years. To this day, I dream about it. I will wake up in the middle of the night yelling Kyron's name over and over and over like I'm searching for him. I have done it for 14 years. It's sad that we are here, but that is why I wanted to show that video, because it reflects that feeling of importance and what we are doing, right? I'm also going to show you another video because it's going to get you up to speed with just kind of a high-level overview of where we are today. It was made at the 10-year mark, but it is important.
Came to school this morning. He's 7 years old with his stepmom for the science fair. He was wearing this outfit.
The Sheriff's Department launched a massive search within an hour of learning that Kyron was missing.
The FBI is also on scene.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Kyron, we're gonna bring you home, buddy. Nothing is more important to your family, to your friends, to us. So.
Police are not releasing a lot of details except to say the case is now a criminal investigation.
I was fully expecting them to just slap the cuffs on her and take her away. They're going to do it any second. They're going to take her away. They're going to do it. Here we go. This is going to happen. And it doesn't work that way.
If you have seen Kyron or have any information you think may be beneficial, please call the police.
Kyron was due home off the school bus at 3:45. He did not get off the bus.
And have they found any sign of him at all?
No, not that I've heard of any sign of him at this point.
7-year-old Kyron Horman was last seen after his stepmother, Terry Horman, there's the picture, drove him to school for one of the biggest days of the year, the school science fair.
Second grader at Skyline Elementary and worked hard on his project for the science fair.
This is a picture she took of the second grader with his project, the red-eyed tree frog.
After touring exhibits together, they say goodbye in the school hallway. She leaves for home. Kyron heads toward his classroom.
It's the last time anyone remembers seeing him.
Terry Horman posts photos of Kyron from the science fair on her Facebook page.
Kyron doesn't get off the school bus. His stepmom calls the school and learns the teacher had marked him absent.
This is devastating for the family, as you might guess, and for anybody that knows him. We just want to make sure he gets home safe.
By 9 o'clock, as we watch search teams wade through high, grassy fields, Kyron had been missing more than 13 hours.
Police declared the area a major crime scene. By morning, the military and crews on the ground joined the search.
He's not the kind of child that would just go out of school and just go, searching or wandering around. He's just a very timid, sweet boy.
Okay. All right, let me know. Okay. Good afternoon. My name is Jason Gates. I'm a captain with the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office, and I'm the incident commander.
In addition to the teams in the sky and on the ground, we're told about 50 detectives are also working the case.
The focus, the area around the school.
We're moving forward under the premise that we're looking for a living Kyron Horman.
On this rainy Sunday, police interviewed parents and children at Skyline School.
They're just trying to talk the kids through and just see if they can pick up any grains of information that they can to help. Just to help.
The search turned into a massive community effort. From homemade signs to food donations, those who couldn't search did what they could to help.
Then on Friday, 1 week after Kyron's disappearance, his family speaks publicly for the first time.
Kyron, we miss you, we love you, and we need you home right now.
Search crews made their strongest push yet, with hundreds of volunteers from around the state joining the search for Kyron Horman.
We need a clue, we need that aha.
This is the kind of terrain searchers are having to comb through: tall grasses, dense vegetation, and steep slopes. It makes for a slow and tedious process.
The pressure to turn up something intense. And so far, each day has ended with little to report.
It's always frustrating, when we're not finding anything, especially when we have such high hopes.
Investigators suspended the search and rescue. It's become clear Kyron is not simply lost.
Would he just go on a hike at the end of the year? That doesn't seem like something he would do.
Detectives announced this has become a criminal investigation. And the focus?
Where is she and why is she not speaking?
We wanted to speak out as the natural parents for Kyron.
Behind the scenes, we've later learned suspicions were mounting. His family had come apart.
Terry was on a whole other playing field than we were. It was 3 against 1, and she was not looking out for Kyron. She was not interested in helping in any way.
Weeks after Kyron disappeared, police are handing out a questionnaire to parents and students at Skyline School,
asking people if they'd seen the stepmom or the family's white truck in the area the day the boy disappeared.
Investigators say they've talked with the majority of parents and staffers, but there's still people they want to interview.
Then,
hello, I'm Tracy Barrett.
And I'm Joe Donald.
The unexpected.
The Kyron Horman investigation takes another turn. Now a reliable source tells News Channel 8 officers were prepared to arrest stepmom Terry Horman for hiring a hitman to kill her husband.
Terry Horman filed for divorce, sought a restraining order against Terry Horman, and accused her of trying to hire a hitman to murder him.
And it was based on a lot of information that was provided, so it wasn't a sudden, reactionary type of decision that was made.
At that same news conference, Kyron's dad revealed another behind-the-scenes bombshell about Terry.
I think everyone knows the fact that she's taken her 2 polygraphs. She has not passed those 2 polygraphs.
Terry Horman hired a defense lawyer and moved to her parents' home in Roseburg.
Now again, Terry Horman has not been named a person of interest or a suspect in this case.
Terry Horman has never spoken to the media, but in court documents calls Kane's allegations vicious and calculated to inflame and poison public opinion against her.
Court papers from the divorce revealed Terry Horman had been sexting with another man after Kyron disappeared.
She's got some guts. I'll give her that. Now's not a good time to be doing stuff like that, but I guess I don't expect anything less.
EDA cooperating with investigators?
By late summer, a grand jury started hearing sworn testimony from Terry Horman's friends. No charges were filed.
Is she bound to testify, or could she say no?
She was subpoenaed. I look at people's actions, and the actions I see don't reinforce the fact that they're completely innocent. And whether it's related to Kyron or not, something's being hidden.
2 years after the boy's disappearance, Kyron's biological mother filed a civil lawsuit against Terry Horman, later dropped.
The time has come for Terry to take responsibility for what she has done and to tell me and my family where Kyron is and how he got there.
Terry Horman tried to change her name and appeared on the witness stand before a judge denied the request.
Kyron Horman is missing. He needs to be found. I love my son. I want him home more than anything.
Terry, what's your reaction to the judge denying this name change?
Hi, Kyle. No, thank you.
Horman, who now lives in California, has maintained her innocence, appearing on national TV and magazines.
She talks about Kyron's disappearance and also what she calls a bogus murder-for-hire plot to kill her husband.
I don't believe she'll ever be truly honest about what happened. I think even when we find Kyron, she will not reveal what happened that day.
But the search for him is still going strong.
Today, another under-the-radar search today for Kyron Horman.
Police searched the woods, the water, and multiple properties over the years, but haven't found anything.
Comment. The Multnomah County Sheriff's Office said, quote, the investigation is continuing.
They've also released age-progressed photos of what Kyron would look like now as a teenager.
Kyron is a sweet little boy that just wanted to live his life and to go camping and fishing and be a kid, and he got that taken from him.
To speak to you today. This is one of the most important events that we have, that we can do for missing children. You will network and speak to people here, whether it's families of the missing, investigators who have investigated the cases, people who have been impacted in some way because of a missing person, missing child, missing adult. And this festival is very different than any other festival that you might attend. I mean, usually you're going to a concert, right? A festival for barbecue. This one is one of the most important topics that we can ever talk about, that we can ever really, truly network and impact change on. These stories will range in a great deal based on their own cases, how well they've been investigated, how they've progressed over the years. Maybe it's a short term, maybe it's a long term. As I mentioned earlier, I travel all over the country and I train law enforcement. I provide my perspective on what it means to be a parent of a missing child. And I provide that softer side, those softer skills for law enforcement so that they can do their jobs better, so that they can impact change in the future. I believe that it's super important for us to do that. Law enforcement is not always connected to the family, right? I remember it in the very beginning. One of the law enforcement people came up to me and she had no idea who I was. I'll talk about her later. But she called me, oh yeah, well, you know, I know that the bio mom, right? Yeah, I was immediately mad. And I looked at her and I said, I'm the bio mom. Terms like that do not help when you're connecting with a family. Neither does the word closure. Closure doesn't work. It doesn't exist. It's a farce. There is no closure ever. Even when you get answers, it doesn't exist. Normal, that word went out the window in 2010. So those are some of the things, in addition to investigative techniques and best practices, that I talk about all over the country. This is a very different situation for me. So I get to talk to human beings here to learn about what it means to be a parent of a missing child. I am in a unique population in that a lot of parents of missing children do not get the unique perspective that I do. My husband has been in law enforcement for over 35 years. He spent 32 years in a career with MPD and Medford Police Department in Southern Oregon. And he continues to work in his retirement. I wish he would retire, but that's all right. In his retirement, I think he works more. And he works training our recruits at Oregon's Police Academy in Salem. So we are very invested and connected to the Oregon community here. I wanted to start today off with introducing you to my family. Obviously, this was my family back in 2010. It looks very different nowadays, but this is my family. My son Quinn, who was 15 when Kyron went missing, Kyron 7, Ernie Burt, our family dog, who now has passed away, but yes, this is our family, my husband Tony, and then myself. We were actually taking a Mother's Day photo in our backyard. And every time I look at this photo, it shocks me because that tree is probably, I don't know, 5 times bigger than that. And that marks the passage of time. Kyron is going to be 22 on September 9th, and I cannot believe it. My older son is going to be 30 soon. I just cannot believe it. He's not 7 anymore. He's 7 in my mind, because I haven't gotten an opportunity to see him grow and become a man. So what I mean by that is our life is not all that different than many of you in this room. In fact, I know some of you. You have socialized with our family. You've gone camping with us. We've gone to events, retirement parties. Your kids have played with Kyron. You would have known our family prior to today. Some of you, this is your first introduction. But what I say is, that person that you see in a missing child case is a human. We're all just that normal person going about our life, right? So, Kyron is not the child that I would have ever expected to go missing. I would have never told you that I expected to see him on the TV or on the news or any of that. It was a complete shock to me seeing my son on the news. It's heart-wrenching. He has always had boundaries and rules, just like my other son, and we never let him out of our sight, not even in front of our house. Kyron does not see well, and he has boundaries. He knew this line marked the mailbox, he knew the other line marked our neighbor's house, and he never ventured out of that. We were always in the front yard with our son. The fact that he's missing today is foreign to us. It is not something that we would have ever expected. His Friday was going to be exciting. He had worked on the red-eyed tree frog for several weeks prior. He was very nervous. I know that the person in front of you seems very different, right? But unfortunately, my poor son got my shyness. I was shy before 2010. And he didn't like to stand up in front of people. He didn't like to speak to people. That was just not his thing. He's very shy, just a very passive, conservative person, right? Super sweetheart. And he was very nervous, very nervous. And he's like, Mama, I don't know if I can do this. And I reassured him that he was going to do great, that the kids would love his red-eyed tree frog presentation, and that it would all be fine. It'll be okay. That was our thing. It'll be okay. Words that I eat today. It was late in the afternoon when I got that call that thrust me and my family into a nightmare that I can't even describe. It was 4:24 when my cell phone rang, and I looked at the caller ID and I noticed it was Kyron's school, and my heart sank. The next several minutes, I can't even describe it. I just can't even describe it. The woman on the other end of the phone identified herself as Susan Hall, the school secretary. And she was acting as if she was reading a script because I said, well, yes, I know you. But she was very professional. This is Susan Hall, Skyline Elementary's secretary. I am calling you to notify you that Kyron Horman is missing. And I wasn't expecting that. Like, I'm sitting there going, no, this is not possible. No. I actually started to get mad. I truly thought it was a joke. I could not understand how in the heck he could be missing. She notified me that Multnomah County Sheriff's Office was there and that they were following a plan, that they had a protocol, and that I was to be notified. Although you might speak to other families of missing, their cases are very different than ours, but Multnomah County was prepared the day that Kyron went missing. They were fully prepared. They were trained, and they had a process to follow. And I am so glad that they did. They immediately called in so many agencies, even Southern Oregon's finest. I was so grateful to have what I felt like was my family of blue there helping to find Kyron. The person that knew Kyron, right? They knew who he was. And they were there helping us search. That was a relief for me. Although, of course, we are disappointed with where we are today, right? It's just, well, it's due to one person, but it is where we are. It's not due to the mishandling of Kyron's case or the efforts that we've seen from law enforcement. I wasn't prepared for that moment, for that phone call. There's just not a plan or a protocol for families or parents to go by. We all are just navigating this on our own. There were days that if Tony didn't tell me, hey, I've got to take a shower, it just wasn't going to happen. It didn't factor into the priorities, I didn't want to do my hair. I didn't care. I just wanted to search to exhaustion to find my son. I didn't care that I wasn't sleeping. I didn't care that I wasn't eating. I didn't care. It was all beside the point. And truly, in my mind, I just wanted to die if we didn't have Kyron, right? That was the start of my growing awareness of what it means to be a parent of a missing child. I started learning things. I was absorbing all of it. I was talking to people. I was networking. I was trying to figure out what can we do for Kyron. What's the next thing we're going to work on? I need to be focused, right? In the very beginning, starting with the 911 call, the sergeant at Portland Police Bureau didn't actually know who would be case agent and who would be primary on the investigation. But he knew that this was a 7-year-old child and we were already 6 hours behind. So that sergeant called out everyone regardless of all the particulars and the mechanics behind the scene, right? He called out every single person. And I applaud him for pushing the big red button and knowing that it was the right thing to do, because that helped us. Although we were 6 hours behind, it did help that he activated right away. As you saw in the video, Skyline Elementary is in a uniquely rural area. There were many challenges with that, right? When it came to searching. We also had to look at old floor plans, because Kyron School has tunnels under it. A lot of people don't know that. That Skyline Elementary area is very rural and very agricultural. So you have, the tall buildings and stuff in downtown Portland, you have hustle bustle, people everywhere. And then you just drive a little bit further and you're literally in the country. You know everybody, you go to church with everybody, you go to school with everybody knows everyone, right? And you have this very country-like setting and a very small school. And that was the start of all of this. As you drive out Cornelius Pass Road, which is the last road as you get to Kyron School, you know that you're almost to a school because you see the sign, Skyline Boulevard, 250 feet. As I came up on that sign, as I had so many times before, right? Driving through for soccer, cross-country, track, all the events that I attended for my kids, that sign was huge to me that night. I felt like the world was sitting on my chest and I couldn't breathe. I just couldn't fathom what was happening. And as you look off that road to the right, you see Skyline School. Well, that night, I saw cars parked along all the roads. I saw big boom lights, big trailers, RV type trailers, satellite trailers. I saw people walking everywhere with a purpose. I saw searchers with flashlights up and down the hills. There was a mini city that had erected where Kyron School normally was. It was a relief and a heartache all at the same time. This was everybody who had showed up to search for my son. Basically, the sheriff had contacted 35 other sheriffs in the state of Oregon, activating a statewide search and rescue plan. This is very unusual. This normally does not happen. This launched the biggest search in our history in Oregon. By Sunday, there were 17 other agencies working in the search for Kyron. We had a quarry that was near the school that was all set up for search and rescue. We were staging all of the staff there. It was a big operation and one that really impressed me. And as a mom of a missing child, you're holding on to every little hope and every little silver lining that you can hold on to. And that was what helped me. This is the picture, and everybody might be aware of it already. This is the picture right before he goes missing. So to give you some context, because I'm going to talk about it, it's 8:45. This picture is time-stamped. We know right where Terry was when she took this picture. She's in Miss Porter's classroom at 8:45. This is critical. okay? This is right before he walks out the school with Terry and goes missing. Don't let Terry tell you anything else. In my son's case, the primary search scene and the investigative scene was at Skyline. They determined right away that he had gone missing from Skyline. There's, timelines out there, stories. She tries to deflect and all the things, but honestly, he was in the school and that's where he disappeared from. So, that is really what it comes down to. In those first few hours, Skyline was searched many times. We had canines in there, we had investigative teams. They searched the tunnels, I think about 10 or 11, 12 times. We searched the school. We wanted to make sure that Kyron was not there, right? He's very shy. There's a lot of people there that day. Maybe he took off to a corner and was hiding. I do that, right? I was hiding before I came here. Yeah, so Kyron's school's not large. We'll go over that, but it's basically one main hallway. The classes are off of that hallway on 2 stories. Not complicated. There's a gym, takes up a lot of landscape, right? But that's about it. It's not very big. So, Kyron's class is at the opposite end, the complete west end of the school. The east end of the school is where the school buses drop off the kids and where they go to get on the buses to leave to go home at the end of the day. So that's the span that we're talking about, right? So there were 400 parents in the school that day. And that's important to know. Think about that main hallway and how crowded it was with 400 parents and what that might look like. I was heartbroken because I could not be there that day, but I had agreed with Kane and Terry that they were gonna go support Kyron. I am an accountant by trade. I've been an accountant for 35 years. Unfortunately, it was quarter end, year end, month end, all of the things culminating in June, and it was a deadline, and I couldn't take time off. It was kind of an understanding, and it's an industry standard, unfortunately. I hate to admit it. But I couldn't be there. Earlier in the day, I had received several emails already from Terry, and then also throughout the day, right? She had sent me 5 emails that day. This is unusual because although we were co-parents, we were not close. And normally she would email short little 1-sentence emails to me, but she wouldn't pepper me with emails. It was really unusual. She had emailed me about everything. All the things that we were gonna do for the summer, t-shirts I had on order. Gina was in the video. She was the PTA president. She was helping with t-shirt orders. She had emailed me about the science fair, about where she walked specifically, what classes she went to, and what she did that day in the school. And then she also let me know that she had mailed the brochure from the school science fair to me. It was unusual. It was like we weren't going to talk later that night when I picked up the kids. It was like she was taking and checking off a checklist of everything she needed to do so that it was all wrapped up. With all of that, I had no reason to think that Kyron was unaccounted for, or missing for that matter. I had no reason to know what was about to happen. There was just nothing. After I got the call from the school, all I wanted to do was get in my car and go. It's that instinct, right? But my boss said, whoa, whoa, whoa. You gotta call your husband, you gotta stop and think, like, I don't know that you should be getting in a car. I mean, she was, trying to be caring, but I was on adrenaline, I was going, right? And so instead, I picked up my cell phone and I walked outside of work and I said, I'm calling her first, right? So I call, Kane doesn't answer, Terry answers. Okay. So I say to her, what the hell is going on? I just want to get to the point. There's no pleasantries, not hi, how you doing? Like, what the hell is going on? And she proceeds to tell me like she's reading a grocery list. Like this wasn't the last moment that she saw my son and he went missing. I dropped him off at 8:15. I didn't walk him all the way to the classroom. I waved at him from the top of the stairs from Mr. Macbeth's, right? She's just thinking that I'm not going to pay attention and not listen truly to the words. And it did take me a second because it was all like it was slow motion for me. And by the time my gut realized what she was saying, she was already 2 things ahead. But I'm sitting there going, whoa, wait a minute. What do you mean you dropped him off at 8:15? I know that she didn't, right? I have an email. I have a picture. I know that she didn't drop him off. So, sure enough. Oh, well, and she starts stammering. And then she starts changing her story, which concerned me greatly. That mom instinct y'all have right there, yeah, I felt it. There was no way in hell she was telling me the truth, and I knew it at that moment. And then she acted like it was a romantic movie. I walked up the stairs from Mr. Macbeth's classroom. I was standing there waving to him. He was to Miss Porter's door. And, and I'm sitting there thinking, no, that's not possible. As you come up from Mr. Macbeth's classroom, it's like a U-shaped stairwell, right? It's off inside the gym. There's a wall, and there's a wall up here. So you walk into a wall before you come out into the main hallway. There is no way if she was standing at the landing on top of those stairs that she could ever see Kyron at the other end of the hallway. It's not possible. Not to mention, as I mentioned to you all, there's 400 parents in the school that day. Someone with really bad eyesight, like my son, cannot see through 400 people in the school that day, right? He can only see about 2 or 3 feet in front of him. He got my eyesight, and even though he wears glasses, he still struggles. And so that was critical. So that's what's running through my head is, there is no way, she is not telling me the truth. This is not possible. The entire thing was giving me pause, right? It was giving me that feeling in the pit of my stomach, like, oh my God, I just want to throw up right now. I don't know what is going on. But as I hung up with her, I knew one thing. She was lying to me, and I still didn't know where Kyron was. I don't understand why she didn't walk Kyron all the way to his classroom. She had nothing else better to do that day. She didn't have a job. She didn't have anywhere she needed to be. That was the one thing she was in charge of that day. So why didn't she? Right? It's a question. I don't know. I just don't know. but it's sat in my stomach ever since. Here's some search pictures, and this is of the school. It was obviously raining. It's a challenge. Here's the front elevation of the school, and it's kind of a split level. It's kind of unique in that you have the stairs, you go in, and you're kind of in the middle of the school. You go up to the office or you go down to some other classrooms. And then here's an aerial of the school. Again, this east end is where the buses all line up and let the kids in. Kyron School is way at the other end. This is the gym, right? Here's the floor plan. Here's the east end. There's Kyron's class. Think about that hallway lined with people. 400 parents. There's another aerial of the school. That is the forest that lines the back of the property. Here's the school. Here's the soccer fields. You can't tell from this picture, but this is a huge drop off. It's a hill. All the kids joked about playing soccer on that soccer field. You can't walk too far, you'll disappear. You'll fall right off that hill. That was a huge area of concentration in the very beginning in that first night. On the drive, as we were driving up to Portland, the cell phone rang. And I was thinking, you know, oh, here we go, right? Here we go. We found him. We found him. This is, this is going to be awesome. We found him. We're all done. This is going to be no big deal. It was Terry, all right. But no, we didn't find him. She called to tell me that Kyron's backpack and coat were still in the school that day, and that law enforcement had given them to her already. She also just wanted to chit chat with me. Terry had this way of, I guess I would say stirring it. She knew what would trigger me and where my heart was. She knew where to focus the attention. And so she really focused on the fact that Kyron doesn't have a coat on. And it's just becoming nighttime. The sun is setting. And she knew that I would be upset about that. And as I hung up the phone, I was feeling that feeling again of, what is her deal here? I don't understand. And I was about to have a meltdown about Kyron. And Tony has this innate way of being able to know when I need that structure, that mechanic, that person that is going to remove all heart, and he's going to tell me what needs to happen, right? So he's fabulously skilled at that. And he knew I was about 2 seconds away from losing it. So he says to me, now, honey, I'm going to put my detective hat on right now. So we have this kind of game that we play, okay? And we do this often. I'm going to put my detective hat on right now, Mel. Okay, and he knew exactly what I needed in that moment to kind of step back and not vapor lock. And he said, so we don't want to act on emotion just yet. Thank God he didn't say calm down. We're not going to act on emotion. This is what we're going to do. We're looking for those red flags, those provable lies, those inconsistencies. We're looking for those. But we don't want to act with emotion just yet. We'll look at it again later and we'll reassess how we're feeling, right? He totally broke it down in an easy, simplified way, like I'm managing a meeting. Okay, got it, yeah, okay. And then he said, most of all, and this is what got me, you have to be Kyron's voice. You have to be objective, and you have to just take it all in. And you have to be his voice with law enforcement. So you can't act on emotion. This is your task. You have been tasked with this. You can't act like his mom, right? I'm suddenly Kyron's detective. I got this. So what Terry didn't tell me as she talked to me on the phone was that she had sent an email the week prior to Kyron going missing to Miss Porter, excusing him from school for the first couple of hours. She was going to take him to a doctor's appointment. All the while, nobody knew this, right, except Miss Porter. So she had emailed, and then she also reminded her that day by putting a note on her desk that Kyron would be back at 11 a.m. because he was going to be in the talent show with D'Angelo. Terry also didn't tell me that she had pulled Kyron out of the teacher chaperoned group that he was supposed to walk around the classes in. See, schools are very intentional, right? When they structure an event like this, they want the kids to learn from it. So there was a brochure he had to fill out. It's a big questionnaire. He had to learn from all the exhibits. They had organized many different groups for all the kids to walk around the school intentionally so that they could fill out this questionnaire and actually learn and be quizzed on the contents of everything that they were seeing, right? Well, Terry insisted that she wanted Kyron to learn her own way and that she wanted him pulled out of that group. I didn't learn this in 2010. I learned this actually at our car wash this last year from Miss Porter, who came to tell me. I had no idea. That answered a lot of questions about the confusion in the very beginning about, was he in the talent show? Was he not? Was he at the science fair? Was he not? Did he go to a doctor's appointment? Did he not? Like, there was a lot of confusion, and that was intentional. As you drive out about, probably a mile past the school, you come to Sheltered Nook. And that is where my ex-husband lived, or still lives, I should say. And it's on a 5-acre wooded lot. And you get to the house by driving up a dirt road, okay? So that first night, we brought in several K-9 teams and had searched the house. This is super critical, especially in a missing child case, to search the house as a secondary scene. And here's some of my law enforcement coming out, so sorry to bore you with the dry details. But you'll lose critical pieces of evidence if you don't investigate that house and search it many times. So here's a lesson learned, right? They didn't get on Terry right away. This is what's unusual. Terry had washed every stitch of clothing Kyron ever owned. Everything. All of his bedding, all of his clothes, his backpack that was at the school, washed. His coat, washed. All piled up on his bed, not folded, but washed. Now, the K-9 teams are looking for a scent article. Right? Yeah. That's why that's critical. You gotta lock down the house right away. You've gotta search it. You don't let people in there to mess with your scene. It made it very challenging for us. We've even gotten heat in the media because of it, because one of these independent guys wanted to help us and bring out dog teams. Well, we weren't against it. We didn't have anything to give him. We had no scent article. Sorry, buddy, but we have nothing. Very challenging. That was Terry trying to impede the progress. As we first got there that night, we pulled up to the driveway and we approached a mob. I can only describe it that way. But there were media vans, there were people with cameras, there were big boom microphones and lights, and it was a scene like I've never known, right? I'm just a business professional, I work in an office, I deal with really nerdy ladies, but I don't know what it means to be approaching people with cameras, and why do they want to talk to me? I don't know. So as I approach, I start stopping, and Tony's like, no, you drive straight forward. You do not stop, and you do not look at them. They will get out of your way. I was like horrified. Oh gosh, I'm gonna run over some camera people. But he was right, they got out of my way. As we drove up the long, it's kind of a rounded hill, as we drove up the long driveway and we started pulling in front of the house, the house, it kind of sits in a bowl, and so it's a big round circle, and everywhere you could see, there was land available, there was a car parked, there were people walking through, searchers yelling Kyron's name, dogs, you saw people in orange vests, flashlights everywhere, you could hear the helicopters overhead, that's, you know, the scene, right? And I am just in awe of what I'm seeing around me. I'm getting out of the car and I just don't even know how to take this in, right? And my knees start to get weak, and I think to myself, this is hell on earth, and I have no idea what I just walked into. And it was a voice from out of the dark, but Tony's like, honey, because I started walking off. I'm gonna go search for Kyron, right? No, I'm going with them. And Tony says, no, honey, we gotta go in. We gotta go talk to people. No, we don't. No, I'm arguing with him. No, I'm gonna go search for Kyron. No, you go handle the people, right? This is your deal. You go handle them. I'm on a mission. He's like, no. We gotta go inside. Okay. So I go in the house, and it's a scene, again, like I've never seen before. There's cops everywhere, and I was thinking, why is everybody in the house? You know? I mean, gosh, I'm praying that they already searched it by this point. It is 4 hours later, so hopefully that's the case. But yeah, it was packed full of people. I can't remember how many business cards I got handed to me. I can't remember how many people shook my hand. I can't remember all their names. You know, it was crazy. But what I do remember is Terry walking up to me in that moment. And it's chaos, and I'm bawling my eyes out. And she walks up and she goes, you know how I am. Gosh, we have food. I've got coffee. There's a casserole. Oh my gosh, we have a great coffee cake. Because you know how I am. And you know, and then she starts talking about one of the cops there. Oh, he just loves coffee. So, you know, I had to brew some coffee. And even though, you know, Kane and I don't drink coffee, but, you know, he really needed coffee. So I went ahead and went through the trouble, brewed coffee. Yeah. It was like she was hosting a party. And I was thinking to myself, what in the world just happened? I just walked through a twilight zone. I don't even know what happened. I couldn't even fathom eating at that moment. I couldn't even fathom functioning or articulating a sentence. And all I could think of was, I need to go over and hug Kane. And I need to make sure that Quinn is okay. And I need to figure out who has the answers of this mess of people. And I don't know what this lady is talking about, but she needs to get out of my face. And then she hands me the photo. The photo of Kyron in front of the exhibit. And I can't tell you, in that moment, I wanted to rip him out of that photo and just save him and run away. But the one thing to note is Isn't it crazy? He picked that shirt to wear. CSI, I think it's just crazy, right? Yeah, it's crazy. That shirt. Yeah, isn't that neat? Oh, oh, I can't tell you. I was so frustrated. This is the house. Not super complex, it's kind of small, but it sits kind of up on a hill. When we first got there, there were no blinds on the windows. Everybody could see in. Everybody. Even the cops out in the front that are searching and you're going potty. Everybody can see it. So, of course, media are very aggressive. They want to help. Okay, sure. So they're peeking in the windows. Well, thank goodness for that, because then I finally got privacy in the bathroom. Because the FBI said, you know what, we're going to go run down to Home Depot. We're going to go get you some blinds for your windows. We're going to put that on the federal government. You don't need to worry about that. We're going to go take care of that stuff. And so thankfully, we got blinds up on the windows. But the media were coming up along the hillside there, peeking in the windows, trying to get all of our briefings, which were out here. You don't see it because we had a canopy out there set up with all of our chairs. That was where we were getting our regular briefings. Here's some search scenes. This kind of indicates to you how the terrain is. It's very challenging. Very challenging. We've had broken bones, we've had bee stings, we have had everything. You name it, we've had it on our searches. We also used horses and ATVs. It did help us in some of the rough terrain. And yeah, they're super awesome. I believe that law enforcement was determining whether or not we were involved at all. They came to us after a couple of hours of being there. And I truly don't know what time it was. I kind of lost track of all of that. But they came to me and Tony and said, hey, you know, we want you to go to the school and be interviewed. And I remember thinking, like, we're driving ourselves? Like, I could, if there was something nefarious going on, I could just drive off. So I think they had determined, obviously, that we were not involved. And I didn't know that at the time, but I'm questioning their protocol. Like, really? This is a thing? Huh. But they asked us to go to the school to be interviewed. So we drove down there. I now think it was intentional. At the time, I didn't understand it because I'm just Kyron's mom. I think probably Tony was aware, but I was not, right? They wanted to get our reactions. They wanted to see, as we saw everything, how we were feeling. It's like a temperature gauge, right? So as I walked into the school, it was horrible. The exhibits were lining the hall, everything from the day. And I started to feel that feeling like the world sitting on my chest, and I'm gonna puke and I'm gonna cry and I'm gonna pass out all at the same time, right? And I can't function, I can't walk, my knees get weak, and Tony is holding me up. And he's just trying to get me to walk, right? And then I look up and I see Ben Kiefer, the principal, coming toward me. And so Tony's wondering who this is, and so I tell him, this is the principal. And he goes, oh, okay. I truly don't remember what Ben said to me that day, that night. I just don't even know. I think he offered me his hand. I just remember thinking, God, it's gotta be like 2 or 3 in the morning, and the principal is here for Kyron, right? I was impressed and relieved a little bit that his principal would do that. It was important to me. So they separated Tony and I into different rooms. We went to the offices. And, shoot, way over. Anyway, they separated us into different offices and we were interviewed. And I offered up everything. You can have my phone, you can have my computer, you can have it all. I have receipts. I know everything I did that day. I still can tell you what I had for lunch, right? And I offered it all up. And they asked me, do you know anyone who could do this? Oh, goodness, no. Goodness, no. Like, I don't know anybody who could do this. But they did ask me about my ex-husband and his wife. I just, we're co-parents. I don't know, I truly that night did not know, but I did tell them, she's lying. She's lying about the school and everything that day. So, wherever that lands, right? I was being objective. Tony told me to. So I watched the strategies of our law enforcement team, and they selected Will. That's not his real name. Attractive guy, her type. He was awesome. He was hand-picked. It used to make me angry when he'd come to the house to take her for interviewing, because she'd come out all freshly showered, red lipstick, makeup on. This is a person that didn't get out of yoga pants, right? She had jeans, red tight top, heels. Heels. I didn't think she owned heels. She comes out ready to go for an interview. And I'm thinking, are you serious right now? I can't even get my stuff straight to get in a shower, let alone do all of that, right? But she was getting ready for her interview. I know now that that was an intentional move by law enforcement, right? This was our first press conference. They had arranged with somebody in the community, a church that was right across the school, or from the school, to host all the press. That was critical for our case. There was a lot of media, and you gotta keep them corralled, right? But this was where we were staged. Over to the left, you can see Mary Lindstrand. She was our PIO. She helped me in the very beginning with all kinds of stuff. I had no idea about media. Standing up in front of cameras, oh my gosh, I wanted to die. I didn't know about any of that stuff. She was critical to us. We still use her tools today. One of the, it was a couple months in, we had a really bad day. And your PIOs need to be connected to news updates and stuff. Well, the lead detective, Mary, didn't update me. But somewhere in the United States, I believe it was Maine, I might have that wrong, but they had found a little boy who had been murdered. No one gave me a heads up. I get a call from a Medford news station. And she starts describing a child that sounds exactly like Kyron. And I am having a heart attack. I am losing it. I am at work and I am losing it. They found Kyron. And she starts to realize what's happening. And she's like, oh no. No, it's not Kyron. Would have been handy for her to open with that. But no, it's another boy. I'm calling to get your reaction. That, and in the first several weeks, we would get phone calls from Fox News on the East Coast, 2 in the morning. Well, I'm not sleeping anyway, but I'm going to grab the phone, and he'd block his number. And I told him, do not block your number. Law enforcement does that. You're giving me a heart attack before I can even get on the phone. And it's just the media asking for an update. That's not a thing. We're in Oregon. Don't call me at 2 in the morning, right? And then we had Willamette Weekly. They would come into press conferences and constantly push that tabloid thought process. They wouldn't focus on Kyron or the facts. They were focused on all the dirt, right? And so we ended up having to make a really hard decision and asking them to leave press conferences. They were not welcome. And I say this because to this point, that difficult decision, I still have never granted them interviews. I won't. Because you have to stay true to the facts, you have to stay true to Kyron, and you have to honor him. And those are the rules that I have upheld. Even though I have waged the biggest photo campaign to keep my son's face out there, I select certain people that are trusted for that. And that's important, because if we don't get our child's face out there, we're never going to find him. So we have to keep him in the news. As heart-wrenching as that is, I have to keep his face out there, and I have to keep his story out there. And so we always pick KGW. I love KGW. They're awesome. They always cover honestly on the facts, and they are critical to us. Kyle specifically, he has been covering it since day one, and he is great. There's Mary. I'm still friends with her today. She went to the academy with Tony. I had no idea, but she was the one that called me by mom. Yeah. It was a rough start. We've also searched off the island based on phone pings that we got from Terry's phone. Thank God, bless her heart. She put everything in writing. She was always on that phone, computer, everything. We have tons of evidence. I specifically launched a civil suit for Kyron, trying to get Terry to compel her to get her to tell us where Kyron was. It had to be dismissed because law enforcement wouldn't give me the file, and it would impact missing children after me, which I was not wanting to take on that onus. So I had to dismiss it. But what the one thing that it did do is it helped us to identify Terry's friend Dee Dee Spicer. It helped us to identify the telephones that they were using, the throwaway phones, to communicate with each other after Kyron went missing. And she did help law enforcement locate them. She had tossed them, but she did help to recover those. And we now know the DA back in 2012 offered Dee Dee Spicer full immunity. I didn't know that then. We now have found evidence on those cell phones that Dee Dee did this for Terry. The only thing we need to figure out is where is Kyron, right? And we need to hold Terry and Dee Dee accountable. So it's critical. So what's next? I'm gonna keep searching for my son. I'm gonna keep holding pressure on Terry. She lives in Clear Lake, California now. And we were just down there last weekend. And the community there is awesome. Super supportive. They put all of Kyron's flyers up. We only had one neighbor that apparently is Terry's friend that didn't really like us being there. She asked me, what about forgiveness? I said, oh, yeah. I will absolutely forgive her as soon as she brings me my son. Totally, I'm on it. So, ask her that. You want to bring me my son? Yeah. But everybody else was super supportive. And we're planning a little visit to Klamath Falls for Dee Dee Spicer. We're gonna put some pressure on her too. So that's what we're up to, and this is the new flyer for Kyron. He would be 22 on the night, and it's crazy to even think about. He's still 7 in my mind. We still have his trike. And we still have his basketball hoop, and he's still a little kid to me, you know? But then again, my 30-year-old who's gonna be here later, I just can't even. But anyway, does anybody have any questions? I know we're over on time, I'm so sorry, but does anybody have any questions for me? Yeah.
Well, do you believe Kyron is dead?
You know, as his mom, every time the phone rings, I hope that it's the phone call that tells me he's not. I hope that I get to bring him home. I do. It's really hard to know what I know and still hold on to that hope, but I do. But I know a lot. And unfortunately, I don't think Terry was that nice to him that day. We've seen it in all of her emails and other communications. She hated him. And so unfortunately, I don't believe she allowed him. It's hard for me to even say, but yeah.
Desiree, how did they decided early on she had given it away or given it to somebody?
Yeah, we had.
How did they come to that conclusion?
We ruled out all 400 parents that were in the school that day, all but Terry. We have ruled every sexual predator, every person in the neighborhood. We have ruled out every single person except Terry. She's the one that is not cleared. Yeah.
But if she made an arrangement with somebody online who wanted to buy it.
We never saw any evidence of that. We have evidence in the truck, the bed of the truck, physical DNA evidence. We have things missing from the house that she used. We have the injury to her leg from that day. We know that we have photos on those cell phones of, we have the picture of it. We don't know where that picture was taken.
The picture of Kyron after the school?
Yes. Yeah.
How can people help and go to Klamath Falls with you?
Oh, yeah. Gosh, please share a story. Share a flyer, share a story, raise awareness. If you want to help, you want to go with us, I welcome it. I would enjoy it. I love to connect with the people who support Kyron. I have volunteers up here in the front row. I hate to call them volunteers. They really have become my friends after 14 years. But my volunteers will help organize, take your name, connect with you. We're always looking for help. Volunteers are critical to me. I can't do what I do without the people that help me. Yeah. Yeah.
With the illness that was found on the cell phones, how come you decided her husband?
She was granted full immunity.
Oh, both of them were granted full immunity?
Not Terry, just Dee Dee. They wanted her to flip on Terry. And so right now, because it was a state immunity, it was with Multnomah County, we're hoping, please Lord, we're hoping that the U.S. Attorney can help and figure out some sort of end around where we can actually charge her. Yeah. Yeah.
What happened to the ban for hire case?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so she, a month after Kyron went missing, she had, it got discovered that she had hired or tried to hire 3 different people to murder Kane. One of them was the only one that actually got leaked to the press, which is why everybody's aware of it. But in Washington County, there is a case that has not been prosecuted for the murder for hire plot. That one, and then she also had a murder for hire plot in Roseburg when she was much younger. She was 20-something and tried to kill her boyfriend. And so those have not been moved forward because the idea is when we finally get to prosecute for Kyron, we will be able to invite all of that in as evidence in that court case. Yes?
Dee Dee says she's been cleared and has taken a lie detector test.
Dee Dee has not been cleared. She was asked to take a lie detector test. She did not do it. And she actually was working against us and not helping in the investigation and had actually been feeding information to Terry at the time that law enforcement was trying to negotiate with her. So,
Is this on Instagram or Facebook, or what's the
oh
social
yes.
media
So if you want to
site?
stop by our table in the other room,
Yeah.
we have all of them on a little card for
Okay.
you. But yes, we're on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We're all over social media.
And the Kalama Falls piece would be
Yes,
listed there? Okay,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah. Yes.
Why didn't you interview the teachers? Because you didn't know about the whole going to the doctor and everything until that got much?
So they had interviewed the teachers. I didn't know all the particulars about the teacher chaperone group. There was so much confusion in the very beginning. I didn't know about the note on her desk that day, also reminding her of the email. There was rumor that all of that existed, and it was out in the media, but I didn't know firsthand from law enforcement. They never told me, yes, this is what she did, right? I knew that just when Miss Porter had told me when she came to talk to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Really quickly, thank you. You have been a great champion to keep this face in the media. I think, especially if you're local, we see that, your strength, your power through 14 years now. I do have a question for you though.
Yeah.
With the information that's come to light, is there any locations that you like comb through again, or
Absolutely.
new efforts we
Yep.
get into that?
Yes. I won't announce it here publicly, but yes, we have some private individuals in the back of the room that we're hoping to use services of for searching for Kyron. I do searches every year. I had been using class kids, but the foundation just dissolved, so I won't be able to use them anymore. But I am looking and making sure that we are noting which areas need to be revisited. We need to keep searching regardless, but we do have several key areas that law enforcement haven't had the resources to go back to. So yes, absolutely, always. Yeah.
I just wanted, well, first of all, I just want to thank you so much for the presentation. And I want everyone to know that Desiree will be with Rebecca wrote the book, and she will be presenting right on time, but soon. And the two of them will be this afternoon at 4:30 in the other room. And I believe there's question and answer
Yes.
there as well.
Yes.
So if you think of something in the meantime,
Yep.
definitely can have that answered there
Yes.
as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you.